This is Retirement Success with Steve and Elizabeth Holland and me, Todd MJ Schnitt. For over 30 years, Steve and Elizabeth have been protecting your wealth or helping you create the retirement income that you need by creating inflation-adjusted, tax-advantaged, customized plans, because your retirement may be 20 to 30 years of unemployment. The Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors has the experience to take you to and through retirement. So let's make the rest of your life the best of your life. You know what it's called, folks? It's Retirement Success from the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors. I'm MJ, Todd Schnitt, along with Steve and Elizabeth Holland. And today's Retirement Success is going to hone in on what you can do beyond traditional IRAs and 401ks. And with that, we shall impart some wisdom. So that's what today's episode is all about, how to transform those accounts from simple savings buckets into powerful retirement engines.
Wow.
I think that's a good setup, guys.
Yeah, you hit it on the nail there on that one. So you're absolutely right, MJ. Did you know millions of Americans have built up their 401k, their IRAs, and, they don't have a clue, and Steve, you and I see this, what to do with the balance of the funds and how to actually make that into income.
Steady income.
Steady income, yeah, right. You're right. So what do we do with our clients? So when people call us, our listeners call us or TV viewer call us, they always say, I have a bucket of money and I just don't know what to do. And I always say to them, well, that's good, because in your working years, you've accumulated all these assets. And this is where we're going to come in and show you how we can build a strategy that's going to work for you and prepare you for retirement, and have that confidence that most people lacking, and also give you full control over your investments.
Yeah, but you know what, guys? Wouldn't it be funny if someone actually showed up here someday with like a big bucket and they've got like 20s and 10s and singles hanging out of
Steve,
it?
just so you know this, so if any regulatory people are listening, we cannot accept that bucket of money.
We actually do not accept cash.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. The regulators are very strict. And, of course, at the Holland Group, you follow all regulatory guidelines.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And I'm guessing the buckets you're talking about, Steve, are like the orange ones they sell at Home Depot, the 5-gallon
Right.
buckets, right?
Right, the big 5-gallon ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's not thinking about the Halloween bucket, because I went to CVS and the Halloween stuff is out.
Halloween's everywhere, right? But Halloween's around the corner.
I got news for you. Halloween stuff was in the stores in July.
July?
Or late June.
We are so behind. You know what the problem is?
The giant 12-foot skeletons at Home Depot.
Yeah. See, the problem is, MJ, we get home like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. We don't go anywhere.
Nope.
And then on the weekends, we're kind of homebodies, and we.
Well, you cook home. I mean, there's nothing to really.
I do, especially with that smoker that I have now, which is awesome. It links right to my phone, and I could go on and on. But that's not why we're here, right? We're not here about to talk about grilling food and smoking food and all that stuff. We're here to talk about what we have to do beyond traditional IRA and 401k wisdom to give you retirement success. So I would say, remember, this is not just about having investment accounts. It's about optimizing them. Especially if we can implement something that will give us some tax-efficient withdrawals, maximizing employer matches, smart allocations, and even creating personal pensions for dependable income. I think one of the biggest problems is, Elizabeth, is people just don't even know what they have.
That
Inside, they say, well, I have a Target 2030. Okay, well, what's that?
Yeah.
What's in it? They don't even know. It's like 5 mutual funds from one company, and it's a redundancy of stuff that they pay for that is not even performing, like the cash market, the cash equivalents in the bond market, which is still fast asleep.
You know, Steve, you're such a smart allocation. You're a smart allocation. When you said smart allocation, it reminded
smart
me.
Allocation.
You get it.
There's a word.
You're a smart aleck, but a smart allocation for proper allocation.
That's right. All right, you smart
like that.
Alex out there. Yeah, that's right. Maybe I should slow down and say smart allocation.
Oh, you know what? I did get a complaint about me, a listener. They said that I speak too fast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
that you speak too fast?
yeah, I speak too fast.
Maybe they thought it was me.
No, they said you speak too fast, slow it down, and really explain like some of the things you're talking about. For example, we're talking about beyond your traditional IRA investments and your 401k.
Right.
And some of the people that we talk to, MJ, they really don't know who's in control of their retirement account. And I ask the questions every time I speak to someone. Who is controlling your IRA? Who is making the decisions on your 401k? And the answer comes back, I think my company is.
It's Siri.
Right. It's Siri or Alexa, right?
Right.
They don't know who's controlling their, hard-earned money.
Yeah.
Scary.
It is.
Yep. Very true. Very
Folks,
true.
I want to give you the number for the Hollands. We do this show for one simple reason, to familiarize yourself with what the Hollands do for clients just like you. And that's to make sure that you're properly allocated, that you properly have the correct retirement plan and the full investment strategy to bring you investment income every month. It's a delicate balance, and it has to change. It's living and breathing, and that's why the Hollands and their team, with their clients, they continually rebalance to make sure that things are set up properly for the current conditions. Economically, things do change, and allocations and just the theme and the ideology in investing and having a retirement plan, it's not a set it and forget it situation. And that's what happens when you work with the Hollands. That's why we do the show, to let you know that the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors is a fiduciary firm, an advisory that's been here in the Tampa Bay area since 1993. I mean, think about it. How long have you heard the Hollands on this radio station? It has been decades and decades. While many other companies have come and gone, the Hollands are still here. You really should act now. This is your chance to turn any confusion that you have into clarity. So you really have a tight idea of where you are, where you're going. And it's also important to know where you've been. And that's what the Hollands want to look at, to see where you've been and see if you're headed in the right direction. If not, the Hollands would love to work with you and correct the issue. They'll give you their plans. They'll show you what you're doing now. They'll show you what they recommend. They'll give you written plans on the differences, the changes, and this is complimentary, folks. It doesn't cost you a thing to speak with the Hollands and let them go to work and show you what they can do for you. 727-228-6449. You call the Hollands. That gets the ball rolling. Any questions you have, call the Hollands. Set up what they call a discovery call. A discovery call is simple. This is where you have a phone call. You pick the date and time. It's 100% flexible. You pick the time and date that's good for you, and talk to the Hollands and ask any questions. Let the Hollands see what you currently have, and then they can go even in more depth with these written plans later on. But at least you can get a good snapshot right now. Call and ask for a discovery call. Go on the website, book a discovery call, 727-228-6449, or the website for the Hollands, askthehollands.com. That's askthehollands.com. Let's delve into maximizing contributions, the acceleration effect, if you will.
Yeah, this is a very interesting subject because right now we've got some changes. So if you're 50 years old or older this year in 2025, you can contribute an extra $7,500 in catch-up contributions. Now, if you make 7% annually, let's say for over 30 years, that's about $57,000 just from 1 year's extra savings. Elizabeth, people don't really stop to think about the compound effect and how that is so incredibly important whenever you save money and you add an extra $10,000 into your account for that year over 20, 30 years. That makes a very big difference.
That is a big difference. And thank you, Lord, for you not talking about ketchup and mustard and all that. So
Oh,
I'm going to go
and
right into it.
what-
Nope,
what-
no,
what
you missed the opportunity. You missed the opportunity.
All right.
So employers match free money, and this is something that I love because we do this with our employees. You know, every single one of our employees, they contribute the max.
They do.
And I love that. So
Yep.
that's free money, and you should be doing that. So if your employer is matching a 3% dollar for dollar, that means you get 100% return right away, people.
Yep.
It's
absolutely.
like easy money with Rodney Dangerfield.
Well,
I tell you, I get no respect.
Remember that movie, Easy Money?
That
with-
was hilarious. You know why it was so funny? Because I lived in Staten Island at the
Right,
time,
yeah.
and a lot of it was filmed right in Staten
oh
Island.
yeah,
Yeah.
And,
someone's backyard or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that room was the backyard was so small. It looks like this office, this
Right,
studio.
Great
So
movie.
yes.
Great movie.
So too many people, chase like the 0.5%, and they worry about it and they fret about it. There's a big difference when you're worrying about this tiny little percentage, and you could be missing out thousands of dollars in contributions.
But we have to throw this in because this is really important. The downside to the free matching from your employer is many times people look at their 401k like a year later and they say, this is doing great. This is doing great. And they really have to look at the performance of the 401k. When you're adding money to your 401k and your employer is adding money to your 401k, what are you essentially doing? You're feeding it. So yes, it's going to get bigger.
Right.
So you have to track the performance and say, well, how well did this actually do? Is this only the money that I've added? Or was there pretty decent performance as well? We have reviewed so many 401ks over the years where the performance has been terrible, but the client has said, yeah, but it keeps going up. Well, because you're adding to it every 2 weeks.
So I just spoke with someone that told me that, my 2035 fund is doing excellent.
Right.
And
yeah.
I just have to say, like, okay, you're 2035. Okay, my gosh, that's in 10 years. What's doing good about it?
Right.
He goes, well, you know what? I really don't know. So I asked the big question again. Who is managing, who is in control of that 401k?
Right.
I think my boss is. I don't think his boss is. I think
No,
basically a
absolutely
company
not.
is
Yeah.
hired a company
It's
to
a
overlook
mutual
it.
fund
Yeah.
company. And you know what? A 2035, I can tell you because we've analyzed hundreds of them. A 2035 probably has about 50% in stock and 50% in fixed income. And what that tells me right now, really quick, is the 50% in stock is doing very well. The 50% in fixed income is terrible.
That's
so
so
really
good.
what's happening is half your portfolio is doing well. The other half is doing terrible, like an anchor pulling down the return of the 50% in equities. So I am not a big believer in these target funds at all. And I'm telling you, if you're invested in your 401k in a target fund, you need to get in touch with us because I will show you what you actually have. And it's not good.
It seems like you're the target.
Yeah, really. Yep.
Someone's shooting arrows at you.
Yeah. I mean, people talk about asset allocation, and
Yeah,
it's
diversification.
important to have diversification.
Yeah.
Well, diversification, smart diversification doesn't mean, you know what, the cash market, the cash equivalent market, the domestic bond market has been really lousy for the past 10 and 15 years, so I'm going to invest there. No, if it's been really lousy, obviously we should avoid it. And some people say, well, if it's been really lousy, maybe it's going to be really good now. How is it going to be really good now when the feds are talking about nothing except reducing interest rates? So
They really need to reach out to us,
they
Steve,
need to
because
reach
that's
out
so important.
and really understand what is inside this investment.
Are the bulk of the target funds that you see problematic?
They are because they're under the assumption you're going to retire. The shorter the term, the worse they are, because the shorter the term, the more fixed income they have. And ones that are way out there, like a 2045 or something like that, or a 2050, should be a lot more aggressive and have very little in fixed income, cash equivalents. So it really depends on the target date.
But some people say it's only one fund. It's
Right.
only one fund. It's a target fund for 2035. So that's only one fund. So it's not doing bad.
It's
I
not
know.
one fund. It's like 4 to 6 mutual funds wrapped up all together, And that's what you're essentially paying a fee for like 5 funds as well.
Right,
That's
but
something else
it's also important to figure out how much of your net worth is tied up in a target fund,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, so that's something you have to look at very carefully. And please don't assume that your company has got your back and they are hiring really good money managers and they're going to know what to invest in.
And no fees.
Yeah, with no fee.
Yeah, no
Everyone
fees.
pays a fee. It's implicit, which means you don't see it, but you pay it. Or it's explicit, which means you see it and you pay it. Or you have a combination of both. But the important thing to know is that, again, you truly understand exactly what is inside your 401k.
The Hollands are here to help. Now, listen to what we discuss on the radio show, like right now. And if you're a regular listener, when you hear this show, just all the different topics that we tackle. Imagine if you could work with the Hollands and they could apply all of this knowledge across the dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of shows we do every year. Imagine if they can take that knowledge and apply it to you personally. And that's what happens when you work with the Hollands. When you work with the Hollands one-on-one, it's all about you. You are the most important thing on the table, and they make sure that you're properly allocated. You have the right investment income coming in, the right returns coming in, and, of course, the full retirement plan, including estate planning, including tax planning, which is essential. The Hollands have always preached you have to have a tax strategy as well. It's really dazzling. It's insane how many advisors do not include a tax strategy, which is an essential part of any investment plan. Call the Hollands. They would love to meet with you, talk with you. Start with the phone call. Call the Hollands. Then you meet with the Hollands. Let the Hollands build you their plans that they think are best for you in written form, and then they'll review it all. They'll go over everything and tell you why they think this is better. This is complimentary, no obligation. There's no cost to you. All you have to do is call the Hollands and ask. 727-228-6449. If you think that you need a review, if you think that maybe things can be better in your investment strategy, your retirement planning, your returns, call the Hollands and just start with a simple phone call and conversation. 727-228-6449. That's 727-228-6449, or all the contact information on their website at askthehollands.com. That's askthehollands.com. Let's talk about an allocation reality check. As far as our listeners' assets, let's dive into what people need to know and how they do a health checkup on asset allocation.
Wow, it's a good thing you didn't say Steve. What was that smart allocation? Steve, smart allocation. Now, that was a good one.
Right.
But I want to mention, that's a really super great point you just brought up, as an asset allocation reality check. How many times, Stephen, have we talked to people and they say, oh, I am fully diversified. This is the allocation reality check. I am fully diversified.
Right. That's all they say.
I have some in here, some in there, some, just kind of scattered around. I just need someone to put it together.
And usually it's a duplication of the same thing over and over and over.
It turns out they're not diversified, they're worsified. All right?
Boy, look at you today, wordsmith, So clients often get, caught up in the, FOMO, but let me just mention the FOMO. And I'm going to say a little story behind that.
What does that mean?
Fear of missing out.
FOMO.
Oh, right.
FOMO.
Yeah. FOMO.
And I remember once your mom made hobo bread, and someone in the room got very offended because they thought she said homo bread.
Right. Homo bread, yeah.
Yes.
So
there is a bread called hobo bread.
Hobo, like a hobo?
Right.
Yes, there is a bread called hobo bread.
Okay, all right.
And
I
see,
think
mom
because
makes
she
it.
because she baked it in like a coffee can.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But someone got really offended.
It's actually very good. Actually very good. So it wasn't it was hobo bread, not homo bread.
Right.
Right.
So I am saying the word FOMO, which means fear of missing out. So there's a lot of people get caught up into that. but simply means that one couple with, like, let's say 900,000, wanted to chase the tech stocks, and we see that now that's happening because one of the neighbors just brag about it and goes, "Man, I just did so well. I got so much gains in my stock." The problem is that we need to know the verbiage in retirement because sometimes those are tech stocks, and we don't know exactly which tech stock they're talking about.
Right.
Until we do the research for them and we show them, okay, so here's your reality check. And that's a reality check. How many times have you heard, my neighbor got 15 to 20% on the portfolio?
Right.
They went to this bookie because that's the only way I could see how they're getting that money.
Or they were in the right place at the right time.
Yep.
But you're right. We are living in a weird time period of acronyms. And hey, do you know what MOMO means?
Oh, I know what FOMO means.
So MOMO is very similar. MOMO means the mystery of missing out.
Well, why can't we just say words? We sound like these young kids in school.
And do you know what YOLO is? That's another one. YOLO, YOLO.
No.
That's you only live once.
Ah.
Yeah, and that's when they maybe do some dangerous things and go, YOLO, well.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that one.
Exactly.
And what about JOMO?
I don't want to know.
JOMO is the joy of missing out. So let's say you missed out on something and it really went south for somebody. It was really bad. And you say, oh, good. I'm glad I didn't do that. So sometimes you do get JOMO, like somebody not buying into tech stocks, say in the late 90s because the tech crash was right around the corner. In a situation like you talked about, we were discussing this one couple with $900,000 wanted to chase the tech stocks because their neighbor was bragging that they were having such huge gains.
Yeah.
The problem was, first of all, they're on the verge of retirement. Second of all, they may be hearing this news a little bit too late because if they lost, say, $25,000 in 1 year or 25% in 1 year, their $900,000 would be down to like $675. And then, of course, if they need $40,000 in withdrawals, that was a 4% withdrawal rate. Well, now it's a 6% withdrawal rate. Really what's happening is this is creating a potential death spiral for their retirement.
Ouch.
So you've got to be very careful.
Make sure you don't have an asset allocation problem. The last thing you want is what Steve just said is the death spiral. That might be a good roller coaster at some theme park, but it's not good with your investment and your retirement strategy. So I think we can safely say avoid the death spiral. And the Hollands are happy to work with you to make sure that you don't end up in a predicament like that. How do you call the Hollands? Simple, 727-228-6449. That's 727-228-6449 for Steve and Elizabeth Holland and the entire team at the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors, a fiduciary firm since 1993, over 32 years in the Tampa Bay area. Have a meeting. Have a phone call with the Hollands. Ask any questions that are bothering you. Get a second opinion. Let the Hollands build you these plans complimentary and show you what they would do differently to make your retirement better and to increase your investment strategy to your benefit. 727-228-6449 for the Hollands, 727-228-6449, or everything you need to know is on the website, askthehollands.com. That's askthehollands.com. When we get back, second half hour is right around the corner. Do you know about the inflation problem? Inflation, how it affects you, what you need to know next.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. You know, security matters, whether it's at home or when you travel. Our national security, it's certainly important when it comes to your money and your retirement income. And that's why all of you need to work with people that you know you can trust to do everything they can do to protect your life savings. Now, here in Tampa, there's Steve and Elizabeth Holland with the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors. They've been helping families just like yours retire for more than 30 years, so they have knowledge and experience to help properly properly guide you through the next stage of life. Take the first step towards securing your retirement income. Call Steve and Elizabeth Holland with the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors right now, 727-228-4673, and check them out for yourself and see if they are right for you. 727-228-4673. Now, you've worked for decades to save enough to retire. Make sure your savings are protected. 727-228-4673.
We are back. It is Retirement Success from the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors. Remember, to get a hold of the Hollands, it's an easy phone call. If you've been listening to the show for a while and you haven't called to get a checkup, to have a conversation with the Hollands, to let them look at your retirement strategy, give them a call. Make this the week that you call the Hollands. A little peace of mind, get a second opinion, different eyes on your retirement planning and your investment income. 727-228-6449. That's 727-228-6449 for the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors. I'm MJ Todd Schnitt, along with Steve and Elizabeth Holland here, as you've heard us for a very long time. The inflation problem is real. Let's talk about inflation. We've all seen it. How does this affect our listeners and what needs to be done?
So this is a huge topic for so many people. It's a huge topic for us in the financial arena because we hear it and we have to address it. And this is what we do here at the Holland Group. Inflation is the silent wealth killer, if you would.
Yeah,
so
that's for sure.
By saying that, it simply means that, that 3% inflation, let's say $50,000 today, $50,000 today, shrink to about $27,000. Man, that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
That's going to really...
It takes a while to get there,
but in 25 years or so, right?
Yeah.
But it's still going to hurt because nobody wants to have their funds reduced. It's like you go into the bank and the bank and you give them what? Let me get $100, Steve. We've got it really easy on you. $100, and then they say, "Oh, Mr. Holland, that $100 now is $30."
Right. Oh, thanks a lot. You're doing a great job.
Right. I'm going to hire you as my financial advisor, but that doesn't happen.
But you know what's funny though, Elizabeth, is you and I have been consistently talking about inflation.
Yes.
We've been consistently saying over the years, and I'm talking decades, you have to have an inflation-adjusted return. And all these other financial advisors on the radio, they were talking about Social Security maximization, asset allocation, what to invest in, but nobody talked about inflation. Nobody really cared because inflation was dead for a long time, but then after the pandemic, boom, it came back. 2022, investors are calling 2022 the inflation crash year. The year, stocks went down like 16 to 18%, and so did the bond market as well.
So you need a strategy to actually show you the balance on growth and, of course, the protection. So right now, inflation is currently, about 3%, but it's
a little bit less, but you're right. Yeah.
But that's a problem for people in the financial business as well as most Americans are talking about it. You're right. People weren't talking about inflation 5 years ago, 4 years ago. They're now talking about, hey, how is this affecting me? And they're seeing that inflation rate has recently showed a slowdown, but the impact of high prices on house goods,
right,
on the budget, it's widely spread out to be really a hardship. They did a report on Gallup, did a report on this, and it showed that few Americans mention inflation as the top financial problem. So we talk about inflation with our clients and our prospective clients because we always factor the plans that we build for each person. We always say it, right? It's inflation adjusted. And that is something that's really, really important because when we put together our strategy, it is inflation adjusted.
Right. And it doesn't mean that when we talk about inflation that, I got to keep a lot of money in cash.
Yeah,
and cash equivalents.
That's the first thing I hear.
If you're going to hoard cash, there's nothing wrong with hoarding some cash as long as you do one thing. Make sure you're making money on your cash. And you can't rely on the fat and happy Wall Street banks because they will give you 0.0 or maybe 0.1 or 0.15 of 1%. That's nothing. It's terrible. You should be making right now at least 3.5 towards 4% on your cash.
Steve, you mentioned hoarding cash. What about if you forgot where you put the cash?
That's kind of even worse.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's
Now, do you mean like a coffee can?
No,
or,
you mentioned hoarding cash. I would think people would know
under
it.
the mattress and things like that.
Or put it in. Hey, remember? I'm going to tell us a little story. Do you remember we had a client that said that her husband was hiding cash on the fan, on top of the fan blade?
Until she turned on the fan one day, right?
Because they never turned the fan on.
Right.
And then all that cash just flew out all over the place.
It's raining money.
Yes,
Yay.
definitely. So these are the big concerns that we have Americans who are right now concerned about. What's going to happen to
Right.
inflation?
Yeah.
What's going to happen in the next few years? People have become more aware of inflation now than they have ever been, and that's because the awareness is so much more serious.
It's like we always say, you have to have an inflation-adjusted and tax-advantaged type of strategy. It's the same thing like all the advisors out there that never really talk about taxes, and that, of course, is a big problem.
You know, after COVID and even through today, we've seen more inflation than we've seen in decades and
Yes.
decades.
Since the 80s.
Yes.
Yes. So the last time we really saw major inflation was, during the Carter administration. So, late 70s into the early 80s. And then Reagan had to, clean things up. And it took a couple of years to, fix the problems that occurred during the Carter administration. But I think a lot of people forgot.
Yeah.
And
back then, like for most of our clients, I mean, let's look at where we
What
were.
ages, yeah.
We were in our 20s,
Yeah.
so we didn't really care.
No.
We weren't like really concerned consumers. We weren't investors. But many of us remember, I mean, some people, we have some clients who say, hey, I was 23 years old and I bought my first house. And we're like, wow, yeah, I was in New York City. I couldn't afford a house, that's for sure.
Yeah, I remember
but
that.
we didn't start thinking about finances until, of course, we got married and then we had Alicia and we moved down here in Florida. But, that was in 1987. That was in the early part of 1988.
Right. Alicia's going to be really mad with you because now everyone's going to know her age.
Well, right.
So, inflation is another important factor here.
Yeah.
I want to give out the number again, folks, to call the Hollands. For Steve or Elizabeth or the team at the Holland Group, just call. That's the invitation. It's always a standing invitation. 727-228-6449. Or on the website, all the contact information is at askthehollands.com. That's askthehollands.com. What about building your personal pension? What do our listeners need to know about that?
MJ, what's a pension? What is this word pension that you speak of?
Yeah.
I have not heard that word before.
The old pensions from companies, a lot of that is gone with the horse and buggy.
Yeah, that's for sure.
As well as
But,
some of the match from companies.
There are still some pensions out there. Some of the public sector still deals with pensions. But let's take the old concept of a pension, right? And then self-administer and build your own pension that, you are responsible for, essentially.
That's right. We have so many people who come to us who say, I've got one source of guaranteed income, and that's going to be my Social Security.
Oh, yeah.
The rest is in my 401k. So what should I do? Can I create more sources? Is there any way we can invest in something that will give me X amount of dollars per month, and it's not associated with the stock market? I always say not associated with the big three. And the big three is it's not associated with the stock market, not associated with the bond market, and not associated with geopolitical nonsense, because that's what people want. Elizabeth, a lot of investors say, I want something that is going to be guaranteed, and I'd like to get $500 a month or $1,000 or $2,000 a month. Do you have anything like that? And that brings up a very important concern.
So a personal pension, most people who I speak with, I'm sure you do as well, Steve, they ask the big question, how do you build a personal pension? Because I don't have one.
Right.
So here's what I always tell everyone, and this is what I hear from our listeners and from our viewers. A personal pension is a collection of all my retirement account. This is my pension. So it's a ton of different type of accounts, investment accounts. Well, that's not really a pension because you're looking at all these different assets that you have, and whether it's qualified, non-qualified, you're bulking everything together.
Right.
And saying, this is my pension because I have to be able to make sure this money lasts as long as I do.
Right.
And for my spouse, my surviving spouse.
But that pension's got to have sustainability. It's got to have reliability. It's got to be there in case you live to 92, 95, 106. Who knows?
Steve, I think you will live to 106, but, I'm not going to play, that crystal ball thing.
Right.
So you have to learn how to build your own pension, and people don't realize how to do that, and this is what we do. So we combine taxable money and non-taxable money and for retirement, and we put together a strategy for you and all your investments. It's not an accumulation of all the money that you've worked for. It could be sometime that you need an annuity, that we create one for you, because some people, like you just mentioned, I want to have X amount of dollars every single month, and because that is what I live on, and that's what I'm expecting.
Right.
And we have to show them how we can build that portfolio to show them you will get X amount of dollars, you will have all of that, exactly what you want. But the one big thing is that we have to start somewhere. So people have to start saving for this goal. And I've had people say to me, I've saved $65,000 and I'm looking to retire, who is about 60 years old in 2 years, because in 2 years I can collect Social Security. I have saved $65,000 and my Social Security is going to come in 2 years, and that is my plan.
Yeah, for most, that's just not going to cut it, because it's all about your lifestyle. Remember, retirement planning starts with what's coming in, what's going out, and how do we adjust from there. And sometimes an annuity concept works very, very well with, commingled with other assets, other investments for longer term, such as stocks and other securities.
So we talk about this. If your employer is giving you a match, please do
take it.
All right.
Absolutely.
Take it.
Without a doubt.
The only match my employer is currently giving us is a book of matches they got at a bar for free. In the radio biz, a lot of the matches went away.
That's sad.
A lot of companies, though, it's not just radio.
Right.
Media is a rough animal right now. TV, radio,
Sure.
The print media, obviously. It's a very interesting space, and it's changed dramatically. But
Right.
I have not had a match in my 401k for a long, long time. So.
It's amazing you talk about print media. The other day I was sitting in a chair waiting for Elizabeth, and then we had to go to the store or something. And I actually sat down, I looked on the coffee table, and I picked up a magazine. You know how long it's actually been since I've looked through a magazine? And I thought about it, and I said, wow, it's probably been a couple years. Remember, every time we'd take business trips, I used to stop and buy a magazine.
Rob Report.
Yeah, I'd buy Rob Report, and I would buy, different financial magazines, and I would read them on the plane. And now it's like, no, I read on my iPad.
Better Homes and Gardens.
Exactly.
Yeah, Vogue.
Oh, definitely. Those Vogue magazines were so huge. But we will tell you one thing for sure. Contribute enough to get the full employer match, because that is free money if your company is allowing you to do so.
That's right.
I spoke with a gentleman last week who didn't know that his company was offering a 401k Roth.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you should jump on that as well.
When you work with the Hollands, they'll look at your options. They'll see what you're leaving on the table, making sure you're maximized. And it's a phone call away. Wouldn't you rather have peace of mind than maybe just the unknown floating in the ether? Call the Hollands, 727-228-6449. Call today. If you can't call today, write the number down. Call when the week starts, when it's convenient, but sooner rather than later, to get a complimentary financial review. No cost, there's no commitment, there's no obligation. I think it's really important that you act quickly, because who knows what you are leaving on the table. 727-228-6449 for the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors. That's 727-228-6449 for Steve and Elizabeth Holland. That's 727 228-6449, or all the contact information, plus a lot of information about Steve and Elizabeth, about the firm, is on the website, askthehollands.com, askthehollands.com. What about tax diversification and withdrawal strategies? How does that play into this?
It plays a huge part because we always talk about tax. Be aware of taxes. We all know that taxes is not going to just go away. Okay? I spoke with someone recently who haven't prepared a tax return since 2021.
Uh-oh.
So, I mean, since 2020.
And they have income?
And they have income.
Oh, boy.
And they said, when we get around to it, we're going to make sure everything is okay, because right now we're like in the hole with this tax thing and this tax return stuff. And we just was hoping that, the IRS were not going to fine us. We're going to fly under the radar. Not a good plan. But I just want to mention that tax diversification, it involves a truly well-built strategy that can really help you spreading from your savings across all different type of tax treatment or tax accounts that you have. This is something that when we take a look at someone's portfolio, we ask for everything. When we ask for everything, that gives us a really good idea and concept of what is it they're looking to have for us to bill, when are they looking to take withdrawals from, what tax stock investment or non-tax investments they have, what is going to be the potential tax gains for them, the longevity of it. These are all the things that we do for retirement planning. It's so important to speak with someone who is very, very diverse when it comes to taxes. And Steve, I'm going to throw you under the bus, but how many years have you been doing this for taxes?
35 years. That's right. And I remember the early days where I did a lot of those tax returns and couldn't wait. For April 15th,
right.
Every single year.
Yes, and that would include me too. Couldn't wait for you to come home for after April 15th.
Right.
But basically, these are the things that you have to look at. And having funds in the pre-tax Roth I mentioned, the gentleman didn't know his company has a 401k Roth.
Wow.
That he could be contributing. He's 52, 53 years old. This is cake and ice cream for people who can start doing something like that.
Yep.
All of these taxes and non-tax accounts, if you don't know how to apply them and how to really manage them, that's what we do.
Yep, absolutely. And what you do after you've had the allocation set up in your pre-tax and your post-tax and your Roth, your different types of taxable accounts, you've got to have a withdrawal strategy. A withdrawal strategy is absolutely critical because when markets are down, you don't want to be pulling from that asset. You don't want to be pulling from that account if it's down, say, 10, 15%. This is how you avoid selling at a low. It's that simple, but it's got to be set up correctly from the beginning.
As we go through all these different topics on today's show, just imagine if your bases were covered in all of these areas, how much better you would sleep at night. I think it's dramatic, actually. I think it's very, very important, folks, to get a hold of Steve and Elizabeth Holland. We'll give you the phone number again in just a couple of minutes. And listen, it's not just what you've saved, it's also how you take it out. And the Hollands can, go over all of this with you on how to live your retirement to the fullest, but you have to have a plan. And we'll give you the number, the contact information again. In the last few minutes of this program, let's discuss how our listeners can create multiple income streams. We can only touch on it, but of course you get into this much more specifically and in great depth when you work with people one-on-one.
Yes, you're absolutely correct on that. That's one-on-one, is it? Because every single plan that we put together is tailored for each individual. So your retirement could be a lot smoother, if you have multiple streams of income. Most people depend on Social Security. We have talked about that several times. Some people have an annuity. Some people look for dividend stocks and so forth. A big thing people look for nowadays is rental income.
Right.
Rental income is huge, and you have to diversify your risk. You can't just take all that risk.
Right. And of course, if you do have rental property, all landlords go to heaven.
Make a note to self.
And you know why they go to heaven, Elizabeth?
I know, I don't.
It's because they go through hell on earth as well. You know, when they get a bad tenant and they get the phone call at, hey, Schnitt, it's 12:30 at night. Sorry to wake you up, but this toilet, it's overflowing. Can you come over and fix this?
My air conditioner is broken. Can you do something about it? It's hot as hell in here.
Oh, my gosh. That would be terrible.
I threw rocks in the garbage disposal, and it's not working.
All right, the fork got caught in the garbage disposal.
It's making a god awful sound, and I just can't shut it off.
Speaking of landlords, just quickly here, my daughter's going to law school up north, and my wife and I went apartment hunting with her on several occasions.
Right.
Finally, they settled on a place, nice place. It's very expensive, and the lease is insane. It's 62 pages.
Oh, my gosh.
For your daughter?
For an apartment lease.
Oh, wow.
This is a managed building, about 200 units, and it's, a management company. The lease is 62. It feels like that. The lease is
600 or 62 pages.
62 pages. No, it feels like 620 pages, or it feels like 6,200 pages. But can you imagine a lease at 62 pages?
I would have my attorney read over that.
That's my wife, and she has.
Yes.
Michelle went up over every single item in the contract.
Oh my gosh.
In the lease, and she's redlining, she's making notes, and they're telling you, do not throw walnuts in the garbage disposal. Dude, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, they're dealing with college kids, so they're kind of worried about all the craziness that could go on.
727-228-6449. Call the Hollands, ask any questions. Call the Hollands, book a discovery call. Go on the website, askthehollands.com. Set up a date and a time to have a discovery call. Get a second opinion. Let the Hollands look at what you're currently doing and let them show you how they can improve your investment strategy, your full retirement plan. Call the Hollands at 727-228-6449. That's 727-228-6449 for the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors. The website, askthehollands.com. All the information is on the website, askthehollands.com. Don't forget the TV show, Retirement Success, Sunday mornings, 11:30 on Channel 10, right after CBS's Face the Nation. And now Steve, Elizabeth, and Alicia from the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors will answer your email questions.
Tampa Bay, this is Alicia Holland DiRenardi here, advisor with the Holland Group. We are answering your question of the day, and I have Elizabeth Holland with me.
Well, I thought you forgot about me because you said we. I thought you meant like maybe Steve and you or something.
No, that's so funny you said that because Steve was just here looking at us through the window and you didn't know.
Oh, I see. Oh, is he spying? I spy?
He was, and he walked away.
Oh, good.
So it's like you sensed him.
And I had to create that issue there. All right, so Alicia, it's always great to talk to you and also answer our clients' questions or our listeners' questions, our viewer question. Give us a little bit quickly on how they can reach out to us.
Sure. I always recommend watch us. I kind of think, this is just my personal opinion, I kind of want to like the people I'm working with, So I think a good way to meet us without officially meeting us yet, watch a few episodes on CBS Channel 10 every Sunday, 11:30 to 12. Watch our TV show. Get to know the type of personalities that you will be working very closely with, because we're not just robots. And our personalities do shine through, I would say, pretty well, pretty nicely. We even share some intimate stories of different personal experiences that we've gone through throughout the longevity of our careers here. So that's always a good thing. Simply emailing appointments@thehollandgrp.com. That's a nice way to send us a question via email, or visit the website, askthehollands.com. Schedule a 15-minute complimentary discovery call.
Wow, great. So how can somebody reach us through text?
Oh, yes. If you text 474747 and text the word retire, you're going to get an automatic response, and that will basically allow you to schedule that discovery call so that we can get to know you, an intro call.
Wonderful. So tell us about the next question.
Sure. So Susan from Oldsmar wrote in, and she says this: I'm a widow with no kids. do I really need an estate plan, or is a will enough?
Wow. So, Susan, here's the deal. A will is not enough. Let's just go let's cut to the chase. A will is not enough. Now, Susan, I don't know if you have a spouse. You said you have no kids, but having no kids doesn't mean that you don't have any assets either. So I'm sure you have assets. You may have a checking account, a savings account. You may have CDs. You may have a brokerage account. You may have an annuity. You may have, some type of investments. Obviously, you're looking to retire at some point, but you need to know, well, how am I going to live? So you must have some sustainable income to live on. Would you like, Susan, that income, something were to happen to you, no one, you became incapacitated, no one to speak for you? Because without a power of attorney and a trust, there's no one to talk for you. Okay? There's no voice for you. And obviously, Susan, you don't want nothing to go to probate.
That's right. So, Susan, really, as Elizabeth's saying, a will is not enough. We have met so many people that don't have kids, and they may or may not have a spouse or a significant other. But you know what? They're really big on their church, and they're really involved. Or they're
Organizations.
They're very much involved in a certain charity or a nonprofit that really speaks to them.
Right.
There's so many things that you can do where you want to designate, instead of that money just going back. And I love the state of Florida, don't get me wrong, but instead of your money just going back to the state, don't you want it to go to some of these organizations? Or again, if this is someone that you don't really have in your life that you think top of mind, oh, this friend or this one that's taking care of me. If there really isn't that type of person that comes top of mind for you, Susan, then I would say think of the charities and the different organizations that could be so
Grateful for this, right?
And impacted by your financial charitable donation. And so think about it in those terms. There's a lot of there's people you could actually help and lives you could help prosper even after you're no longer here.
Beautifully well said, Alicia. That was great. Susan, give us a call. Let's have a conversation with you to see what we can do to help and guide you properly.
That's right. Thank you for that question. And thank you, Tampa Bay. Keep those questions coming in.
I want you to do your own homework. Hey, it's Glenn Beck. How many times have you heard me say that? With everything that's going on in the world, it is more important than ever. Same for your retirement. If you don't have a plan, how are you going to know if you're paying too much in taxes or when the right time is to take Social Security? Do your own homework. I want you to call Steve and Elizabeth Holland and their team at the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors, 727-228-4674. They can help you create a retirement plan that will help answer those questions. Steve and Elizabeth have been helping people in Tampa Bay plan for retirement for more than 30 years. They're local, independent advisors, and their focus is you, their client. Call today. Create a plan designed to guide you into and through your retirement. Call Steve and Elizabeth Holland and their team at the Holland Group Retirement Wealth Advisors. Do it today at 727-228-4674. Start planning now. Remember, 727-228-4674.